Ready as ever.
Fucking, I made sure. I was like, you taking fucking notes over there?
Did you take some fucking notes, Tyler?
Maybe some mental notes that I forgot.
This is why I wanted to take notes. It's like I'm over here like pausing the movie, like, hold on, I gotta write that down.
Yeah. I watched 4 movies yesterday.
What else did you watch?
I guess it totals up to 3 full movies, but it was 4 different movies.
So you watched like the Saws. And
I watched the end. I watched because I started Iron Man 1 on Monday, finished it yesterday, and then watched Iron Man 2, and then finished Saw 7, and then started Saw 8.
That's quite the like shift in like genre.
Yeah. I don't know if there is an opposite.
No, it's just very different.
But if there is an opposite, that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to Almost Agreeable. Almost Agreeable. With your hosts, Chris Nellison and Ed Harris. Hang around and listen to opinions on sports, movies, music, and whatever else pops in our head.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Almost Agreeable podcast. I'm Chris. With me, as always, is Ed. We have Tyler back in studio. Hopefully he talks a little more this time.
A little more.
Before we get into what we're talking to today, how's everyone doing?
Great.
Good.
You've had an exciting 48 hours.
I think. I watched a lot of movies.
Well, yeah. But you got, like, your kitchen's coming together.
Yeah, my kitchen, I don't have any countertops.
So, like, if you put something down on the counter, does it just, like, fall into the cabinets?
It goes to the abyss.
But there's no counters, so
Right, so, like,
So it just falls.
Buddy, there's no counters.
But there's cabinets.
Yeah, there's cabinets, but there's no top. So
Exactly.
So when you...
This is dumb as fuck. Imagine you set something down, but there's nothing there. What happens?
It falls.
Falls in the cabinet.
It falls down. In the cabinet.
It's fall. Yep.
How are you doing?
I'm not the weird one.
How are you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing great.
I think good. I'm sore.
Yeah.
I hurt my tailbone. I re-aggravated my tailbone today.
Dang.
I had a crispy.
You hit a crispy patch?
I had a crispy patch, and then my nose edge went in, and I, flipped and landed on my butt into a crispy.
Jesus.
I synced the whole thing.
He saw it, and then I landed almost back on my board and just kept going.
Yeah.
All right.
Very efficient.
All right. That's snowboarding for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Be careful, all right? Safety first.
I had a helmet.
Then teamwork.
Maybe we could get something for our butts, like a butt pad.
Like those butt capes we saw on the skiers?
Yeah, we saw skiers with some butt capes.
But
there was capes coming out the back of their jacket.
But implants.
No.
Those could pop.
Well, not if they're done right.
They could rupture.
That's
the word I was looking for.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be jumping into the MCU. And we debated about it a little bit if we were going to start like in chronological order, but we settled for going for the order of release, right? So the first MCU movie to come out and kind of set the stage was Iron Man. So in today's episode, we went ahead and made sure that we watched the movie recently. I think we watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
What, day before yesterday?
You guys watched it 2 days ago,
Yeah.
Okay. We watched a lot of New Girl.
Yeah, so much.
Oh, by the way, another thing before we get started. I just want to say I've been sleeping on New Girl, and I'm mad at everybody in the world except for Ed for not, telling me to watch it. So, that if your name's not Ed, hey, Breadward, you're in fucking trouble. Anyways, Iron Man, right? The importance of it is that it was the first movie that was made, to kind of see, right, if a universe could be built around this.
Yeah, it's just going into, they knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to build this universe. They wanted to build this entire series, I guess you could say. But it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge endeavor. But they knew what they wanted to do, and they started out with one who, honestly, wasn't as well known.
Wasn't a household name.
To be real.
Right.
Iron Man, the only reason I knew about Iron Man is because I played a shit ton of Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
And the only reason I knew Iron Man is because Ozzy Osbourne was in Black Sabbath and they sang a song called Iron Man.
Boom, and there we go.
That's
it. So they're going with a hero who's not super well known, and then they're going with an actor who just got done with some shit.
Right. Rocky few years there for RDJ.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I think Gator brought up something to me while we were watching it. Like, we paused it, and you were telling me about, like, why the movie was made. Do you remember what you were telling me?
Honestly, no.
Okay, let me refresh his memory. You were telling me that Marvel was going out of business?
Yeah. It was on a downslope, I think.
After the Spider-Mans? The Spoodermans?
The Spoodermans?
Yeah. So, essentially, since Gator doesn't want to tell the story,
I don't remember this story.
I will. I have a memory of a fucking elephant.
Great memory.
So he's like, yeah, Marvel's going out of business, and they wanted to cash in on merchandise. So they went with Iron Man with hopes that it could be a thing, but also just to make a boatload of money before they went out of business.
Yeah.
And then, as we know, Disney bought it in 2009, I want to say. Because this movie's 08.
Yeah.
This is 08. I'm a senior in high school.
I am a sophomore in high school.
There we go. We're old.
Junior.
Look at us.
Look
at us.
at us.
Who'd have thought?
So like you said, an actor that, like I said, kind of the last, like, hurrah for him. If you make this work, it's going to be good for his career because this is a franchise. But if it doesn't work, then that's probably it. That's probably it for RDJ.
I mean, but it's also at this point, like, we don't really have... It's not that we don't have superhero movies, but... I mean, we were getting done with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Right. The Dark Knight had just come out.
The Dark Knight had just come out.
In 08. The Dark Knight had just come out. This was kind of... Because if you think about the Spider-Man universe that was in play before that, with Tobey and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, it was a trilogy, right? But within its own universe. Much like Batman was its own universe within those three movies.
Exactly.
And this was so much bigger, because we'll get to it in a little bit, but the post-credits scene, there's only one in this one.
Yep.
I want to question both of you right now. The first time you guys saw this, did you see it when it first came out?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
I did not. Okay, did you guys know that end credits, post-credit scenes were a thing? Did you guys stick around for it?
Yes, because there was some movie, I'll have to think about this, but I used to do this for, there was a specific movie that introduced me to it, and now I can't think of it, but anytime I go see a movie, like, since I was, like, 10, 11 years old, I would stay until, like, the lights came back
I was
on.
in the same boat.
Because, this wasn't a mid-credits. This was a post-credits.
Yeah.
And we'll get there. So I want to start off, like, with just the general vibe you get thrown into immediately, right? It's RDJ in the back of the Hummer being fucking Tony Stark.
Being Tony Stark.
Like, drinking a fucking cocktail back there with some airmen. And one of the oldest airmen first class I've ever seen. So it must have been the Guard. So... yeah, and then bam, convoy gets blown up, and it's his weapons, which I think is hilarious when he's hiding behind a rock and then missile lands right next to him and it says Stark Industries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big revelation to him when he sees his weapon right next to him about to blow up.
Yeah, that was huge because that whole first act where he gets captured and attacked, and it's like what Tyler said about him having a revelation with the weapon, but it goes beyond that when he's in the cave because they want him to build the Jericho, right? The missile that just fucks everything up.
Yeah, that he had just displayed. He put on display for everybody.
Right.
And you get that iconic scene of just him
Blowing
standing
up.
there in a suit, arms up all the way apart, and just this
Right.
huge shockwave.
Right. So that combined with the stuff that Jensen is talking to him about how, like, his weapons have been used not just by the people he thinks he's selling them to, but, like, his own village was destroyed by Stark weapons. And this is just a thing that, a reoccurring theme throughout the entire MCU, like the Maximovs, right?
Yeah.
A Stark missile kills their parents. And then it just goes on and on and on. You can see he's making amends throughout the entire saga, essentially.
Yeah.
And I have a hot rod about that a little bit later. But what stood out to you in that first act as far as, like, something that you said, like, this could be something that is a really good movie?
I mean, I don't think anybody thought going into it that it was going to be what it is today. I mean, if you did, that's kind of... I don't believe you.
You're a liar.
You're a liar. There's no way. But I definitely was just, I'm here to be entertained. This is an entertaining movie. I've played with this character in this Marvel Ultimate Alliance video game. I'm hyped. That's it. It's a superhero movie, so I'm like, oh, sick, this is pretty fun, and he just captures who Tony Stark is. RDJ is Tony Stark. He's done so many other movies, but it's like Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, RDJ is Tony Stark.
The way
Anthony Stark.
It is Anthony Stark. Is like we'll get there. We'll get there. Anyways, yeah, just the way he plays the character, like in the beginning, you get a feeling immediately what kind of guy this is, right? Ego, fucking kind of chauvinistic. I mean, he's just sleeping with random women and doesn't care,
But extremely intelligent.
Very smart.
On the cutting edge of everything.
A genius. I think one of the things that really makes you appreciate his genius is when Obadiah Stane is trying to recreate the Iron Man suit and the energy it takes to power it, and he has his like top engineers in there, and he's like, Tony...
We'll get there.
No.
We'll get there.
Okay, fine.
We'll get there. Okay. We're jumping around. Let's progress through.
I don't know. Are we progressing through? So I don't think it can be understated the effect that the Yinsen character had on Tony, like influential throughout the rest of the fucking MCU. Like from that point on, like, and you forget about him because he dies fairly early in the movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But like watching it again with hindsight as like, you know, being what it is now, his whole philosophy started with that guy, with that character. And it, you know, one talks about it because it's not fresh in our minds, right? Fallacy of recency. You're not thinking of that, but that dude played a huge part in Tony turning essentially his company from what it was as like a arms dealership to, you know, philanthropy. Wow, that was hard to say.
It's a $10 word right there.
Philanthropy. But yeah, that character. That's the one to point that out.
What do you think about this first suit that he makes? I mean, they have to make this device to go into his chest so that...
Oh, I have something I wrote down I want to talk about. So
right.
Yinsen saves his life with the magnet, right?
Yeah.
That's attached to a car battery.
Yeah.
And I swear Tony Stark is just walking around with that car battery in one
Oh
arm.
my God,
There's
yes.
no fucking way he's carrying it the way he was carrying
He
it.
was just walking around in one of the scenes, just...
Everyone here has lifted a battery. They're not light.
You don't know about Tony Stark.
Tony Stark is not carrying the battery like around like this, like around, like he's not holding it by the handle. He's holding it like around, like a fucking, like a baby.
Yeah.
No, not a thing.
Let's go do it right now.
No, I don't have any spare batteries lying around. I ain't taking one out of my
Guess
car.
we're taking out batteries.
No. I do want to put this to the test. We'll record it. We'll fucking record
We're
it.
taking out batteries.
I want you guys to all carry it like Tony Stark was
I'll carry
carrying
this
it.
bitch
God.
like a baby.
Godspeed.
But
They make this device.
to keep. So that's what's crazy to me too is that like you kind of lose sight of what the device is doing.
Yeah, you're just like what we're thinking of is like, oh, this just powers the Iron Man suit.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, it does more than that.
Exactly, and I feel like forget about that.
And forget that there's like shrapnel in his about to go into his heart, and this device is what's keeping the shrapnel from going into his heart. And so, that's wild. Like, because he wakes up and he's like, "What did you do to me?" And he's like, "Saved your life, dude.
Saved your life.
Sure.
What do you want from me?
Yeah, it's like I don't have a fucking OR here. I don't have an operating room. Can't." And then he gives him the little pieces that he did pull out. That's terrifying.
Yeah, just like, hey, I saved your life, so I'd like, you're welcome, I guess.
I like how he's like restricted by the battery at first. He like gets up and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
But finally,
The suit? You want to talk about the first suit?
he gets all these materials, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll fucking build you.
Yeah, I'll build you a Jericho.
I'll build you a Jericho. Yeah, sure.
No.
Psych.
I love how they're like watching the monitors and they're like bringing up the blueprints to the Jericho, like, and watching the screen. They're like, it doesn't look like a missile.
I just like how it took him almost 3 months to realize he wasn't building a Jericho.
He was there 3 months. That's the first thing he asked when they got back. He's like, how long was he there? And it was 3 months. So he spent 3 months building that, not Jericho.
It's like, this doesn't look like a missile.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, maybe it's a nude, like, we're in a fucking cave, he's trying to...
I gotta make this suit to make the Jericho.
Yeah.
You know?
It has to be carried by an individual.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, he's building this fucking suit, and you get that iconic scene of him where he's, like, hitting the metal, and there's the cast iron right there in the forge, and I love that, because it's, like, it's in every MCU, like, opening now. Like, where it shows all the heroes in the montage. That's, like, the scene they show Tony Stark of, like, him pounding the metal with that first suit. I think it's so symbolic of the entire MCU, like, because it began here.
They're creating the MCU.
Right.
Yeah.
And like the term MCU wasn't even a fucking thing when this movie came out.
Yeah, it was just, this is just a Marvel movie. Before this, we had Spider-Man, we had fucking Blade.
Blade was like the first one that was kind of a success.
What year did that come out?
That was like 99.
97, 98, 99.
So 10 years before Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was rated R.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Blade is the shit.
Blade is the shit.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
I fucking love Blade.
We'll get there.
Uh,
We'll get there. But that first suit, yeah, what are your thoughts on the first suit?
It was cool. I don't know. It was beat everybody, killed everybody. I don't know. You know, it's much different than his next suit.
Well, yes. I mean, you think about it, he had to make it in a cave.
Yeah, you know.
And I think it's kind of a sad moment. You barely know this character, Jensen, but you grow an attachment to him because he's such a nice dude and like he's helping Tony out. And he essentially sacrifices himself so that Tony has enough time to power up the suit.
yeah.
And then, you know, it's revealed that, you know, his family is dead. And like he wants to go so he can go be with his family. So that's a sad moment. But Tony does end up getting out. The suit works as he planned.
He takes the fuck off and...
I love when he fucking hits the dude and his arm gets stuck in the rock.
Oh, yes.
And the dude comes up behind him and like shoots him point blank in the head and it just ricochets off and kills him.
Yeah.
Dink!
It's like, oh, oops.
That's another thing about this movie we noticed when we were watching is like people are just straight up getting killed.
People just dying left
Getting
and right.
murdered.
It just happens. So, yeah, let's talk about people getting killed. What are the chances that you would say that Tony Stark survives that fall when he gets out of the cave?
I immediately was like, hey, I'm writing this down. There's no way he's fucking surviving that.
He's dead.
We took counts of how many times Tony Stark should have
Oh, there's
died.
another scene later we'll get to where he absolutely should be dead.
So, okay, so this is time one.
This is the
Yeah.
first time. Yeah,
At
so
least.
He definitely, he jumps out of the camp as it explodes and lands like a mile away.
And falls hundreds of feet.
Hundreds of feet.
Into the side of a fucking sand dune, which is basically concrete, anything over like 100 feet.
The
that's
suit
soft.
exploded. Like, there's pieces of it. Like, he should have been fucking dead, man.
He just got up like, ah,
And he just
man.
literally walked away.
the suit worked.
Literally walked away. So, and then, of course, yeah, the cavalry come. They rescue him. Of course, you know, Rhodey, by the way, is not played by Don Cheadle in this one.
Yeah,
We got Terrence Howard.
the OG Terrence Howard.
The OG Rhodey, right? Who is a light colonel in this movie,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't know which... We're going to find out as I go through these movies, as we do these episodes, but I don't remember when he gets promoted to full bird.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, so he's Lieutenant Colonel in this movie.
He's a light colonel. And, another thing... Oh, we'll get there. So he gets back, and something I noticed that was kind of... gave me chills a little bit is when he got back, he told Happy Hogan, like, who's his bodyguard, played by Jon Favreau, who directed the movie, by the way.
Yep.
He tells him he wants a cheeseburger.
An American cheeseburger.
American cheeseburger. And it's, you know, like I said, we have the benefit of hindsight, having seen the entire MCU up to, you know, at this point, WandaVision, but we'll stop at Endgame for now. When they're at his funeral and his daughter's like, I want cheeseburgers. And Happy's just like, your dad liked cheeseburgers. And it just, bam, there it was right there.
It was.
It was just, so I took a moment there and was like, damn, that's crazy. I think I paused it and told everybody in the room that I was feeling emotional.
It is solid. I mean, so he's finally back,
Mm-hmm.
gets an American cheeseburger.
Yeah, oh, that's another thing. Sorry, we can't stop. There's a lot layers to this cheeseburger. Because you know where he got the fucking cheeseburger from?
Oh,
You can tell us.
Burger King.
Fucking Burger King.
Yep, of all places.
I was like, bro, there's probably a Burger King in Bagram. What are you doing?
Oh God, probably.
Anyways, couldn't leave this segment without talking about it being a Burger King burger. But I digress. Anyways, he gets back, has his cheeseburger, and is going to have a press conference, right?
It's a press conference, yeah.
Where, and it's really funny because Tyler called it out. He was like, Tony essentially says he's not going to deal weapons anymore. And, you know, Stain freaks out, takes over the press conference, and Gator goes, or no, it was Amber. She was like, well, stock prices are going to drop.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the first thing he says in the next scene.
Yep. What do you think they're going to drop by 40 points? Yeah, if we're lucky.
Which is real life. Like, 100%. Everyone's selling that shit off like it was GameStop when we had that crazy shit a few weeks ago.
Right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm still holding on to GameStop. I'll let everybody know that. But yeah, so then it gets into this whole thing of Tony Stark he's like, I saw what my weapons did. I'm going to change this. So yeah, he gets into his new mindset of like, okay, I don't want to sell these weapons anymore. We're going to do everything else. I mean, that's part of the beginning of the movie as well, is him talking to this reporter about how much their technology has helped people.
Right.
They're Intellicrops.
As
whatever the fuck
yeah,
that
yeah,
is.
he did drop that Intellicrops, and I was like, what the fuck is
I heard that and I was like, what the hell? I want some Intellicrops, maybe. I don't know what it means, but let's try that.
In the same scene, he's talking about like, the arc reactor energy, which was a publicity stunt. But the reason I think that didn't take off is because Tony was so consumed with weapons before his incident that once he was able to create that arc reactor, the mini one, in the cave, he did it. The genius did it.
Yeah.
He was able to do it and harness it in this tiny thing, and like that is the way forward right there. That giant ass shit they had at Stark Industries was just whatever, like he said, a publicity stunt. But now Tony's done it, and like that is the future, and that's kind of the struggle here, because from that point on, Stain wants that technology, but Tony understands what he was able to do with it and knows in the wrong hands it will be weapons again.
Yeah. Obadiah is now, acting as a friend to Tony Stark, letting him know, like, hey, if you keep down this path, like, the board of directors, like, I understand you have control of the company, but the board of directors, they still have power as well.
Right, and they will vote you out.
They can still do something, and that's what ends up happening. Like, yeah, they're locking you out. Obadiah's telling him, like, oh, I don't know.
I'm going to bat for you.
I'm trying to help you out, but they're locking you out.
When you first saw it, you guys knew that Jeff Bridges was the villain?
No.
No, I thought he was his boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I feel like that's what most people thought, unless you really knew about Iron Man.
Right, unless you read the comics.
Exactly.
Right, because what's his villain name in the comics? I think it's like Ironmonger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unless you really knew about all of this, you're just like, I don't know. I mean, but it is, I guess, if you look at, like, who's a villain, it's probably the bald guy.
It's probably Jeff Bridges.
But,
he has too great of a voice to not be a villain in a movie where we obviously know who the hero is.
I get that, but that's what I was going to bring up. So finally we get to the point where he's with Tony outside of this.
It was an event. It was some kind of gala.
Mm. Some kind of gala, and he's like, they're taking photos together, and he's like, who do you think locked you out?
Yeah.
It was
I'm
me.
the one that voted to get you out. Like,
so then we kind of realized, like, oh shit, well, this is not the business.
and it's just the tip of the iceberg too. We find out later on like just how bad he is.
Yeah, how bad he is, and he has these. Now we're getting to the scientists working on that arc
Right.
reactor.
Well, before we even get there, if you can look at it logically and just say like, oh, like, of course he voted Tony out. I'm not going to say you can empathize with it from a business standpoint, like running a corporation or an industry like Stark Industries. Yes, of course, like to protect your business. You're going to be like, bro, you're saying some crazy shit. You're scaring away the investors. We're definitely going to fucking vote you out.
Yeah.
So
We need to make this money.
yeah. So at that point, yeah, he is the villain. But also, I'm just like, well, yeah. I mean, from a logistical standpoint, not like siding with Tony, that would be the thing to do.
Yep. So he's like, Tony, like, I need that arc reactor technology. He's like, nah, this stays with me.
Yep.
So like, oh, well, then you get to the scene where he's yelling at these scientists because they're telling him it's impossible to make.
And that's when he says what I was going to allude to earlier, when he's just like, Tony Stark built this in a fucking cave. He didn't say fucking.
He didn't say fucking, but
say
if there was, a time to drop the F-bomb, that would have been it. Mm-hmm. And we see him be this intimidating force, this factor.
Right.
And, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just used to Jeff Bridges being the dude.
That's what his wife kept saying the whole time we were watching the movie. Like, that he should be walking around in a robe drinking milk.
That's what my sister-in-law said. She was like, oh my god, that's Jeff Bridges. That's the dude.
That's the dude.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then he's this intimidating villain.
But he's also Flynn, bro.
That's okay, and I was going to bring that up. Like he is the dude, but he is also...
He's Flynn.
Flynn.
He's Flynn.
And, well, he's Clue as well. But...
Yeah, that's right. God, I need to go back and watch Tron again.
Yeah. So, OG Flynn and Clue, and then Tron Legacy comes out 2 years later, after Iron Man. But
it does. That's right.
We're not used to seeing him in this light.
No, he did great.
He's fantastic.
He's so methodical, and just the monologues he delivers, because there's a few times, and then we find out how really bad he is. It actually, he had ordered the hit on Tony.
Yep.
Right? And when they found out that it was Tony Stark, they were not going to do it because they wanted more money.
Right.
Or more weapons in this case. So we find out he's been orchestrating all this from behind the scenes, and he has this like super fucking weapon that paralyzes you when you hear it, which kind of badass, I guess. I love, and like, he delivers monologues during those scenes because obviously everyone's paralyzed, they can't talk.
Yeah.
The one he gives to the villain, the one he gives to Tony.
Yeah.
Like, it's just classic, quintessential, like the power of Jeff Bridges as far as just like his persona, fully on display in this movie with the as he goes closer and closer to being like the villain by the end of the movie. And then, so we're going back to when he should have died 1,000 times. Tony Stark going back to now.
Okay.
When he's down there in his own little fucking lab and he's like building this thrusters on his boots and shit. There's one where he does 10%.
Yep.
10% thrust.
Done.
And he fucking shoots and hits the ceiling. Absolutely should have been a bloody stain.
Yep. He's done.
And then when he falls through the house, when he comes back from the successful flight,
onto the car.
he's like bruised and shit. I'm like, oh, you're bruised now?
That's fair. I don't think that's a death.
No, it's not a death.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying the fact that he like jumped and hit the ceiling and was like fine, and then when he fell through with the suit on, he has bruises and shit. I'm just really confused as to, and this is nitpicky shit because I watched the movie and I was like, I fucking love this. This is great. This was I forgot how great it was.
Yeah.
But also like I watched it for this kind of shit to be like dead, you're fucking dead. Like it's fun. It's fun. It's fucking fun. We did that for Home Alone. Remember?
Yeah. Counting how many times Marv and
Harry
just died.
should have been dead.
Should have been dead.
It was like 22.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Backtrack to Jeff Bridges putting the hit on Tony.
Yeah.
Why did he originally do that?
Because he wanted to be the guy at Stark Industries.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Because he'd grown up in the shadow. He'd been running the business in the shadow of Howard Stark,
Okay.
of Tony's father. And then as soon as like Tony came of age, he had the ownership stake.
Then
he
this
was,
little brat gets the company.
and he was a brat. Mm-hmm. He was a fuckface. Like that's what you're meant to see. Like everything before he was Iron Man was like this dislikable fucking guy who was a genius, but like let everybody know that he was by like belittling them and making them feel fucking small. And so could you imagine being Stain and being like, this little fucker is like half my age, not even, and he's running this is my company. I've been with Howard this whole time, and this little fucker comes out of nowhere. Like, so that's where the initial hit came from.
All right, that makes more sense.
Yeah. And then to think about, I brought up Howard, and it's like, there's like the death of a fucking icon, and it's like, now we know with hindsight how Howard Stark died. And we'll save that for when we get to Civil War, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, so this whole time, we've been going on about Obadiah, about how he's just kind of been crazy.
He's a great character.
Not even crazy. He's just been cold and calculating and tactical, doing all these things. Meanwhile, Tony Stark has been off being Iron Man.
Right.
Just...
Oh, yeah, that first time he fucking goes to do shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just goes into some restricted airspace, and they're like, what the hell?
The fuck is this?
What the hell is this? Oh. And then they're, dogfighting, quote unquote, and then one of the pilots turns, and he's like, it's on your man! It's on your belly! It's like a little man!
Let me tell you the first thing that his wife said when Rhodey's in the control room, and he's on the phone with Tony. She's like, how the fuck does he have a cell phone in there? You don't know that fucking cell phone's in the vault, dude.
That's the only thing we're worried about? This man he has just a suit that can fly and combat anything. She's like, what the fuck is a cell phone?
Why is it in there?
Why is it in there? Why does he have any kind of communication?
Sorry, he shouldn't even have a fucking Apple Watch in there. Oh, sorry, Apple's gonna sue us again. Damn it. Anyways, I'll edit that out.
Smartwatch.
Dude, he does what he wants.
He does what he wants, and he has to tell Rhodey like, yeah, it's me. It's me. Please don't.
It's me in the suit.
He saves the pilot because his chute won't deploy.
Yeah.
So that was a cute little scene, and then, so it's just like we haven't even talked about Pepper.
Old Pepper Potts.
Because Pepper's in this, and we didn't spend a whole lot of time on Pepper, but Pepper is in this MCU saga for essentially any time Tony's in it.
Yeah.
Right. And another thing I brought up to Tyler when we started the movie, the first time I heard Jarvis, I was like, oh, by the way, Paul Bettany is the longest tenured actor in the MCU. Right?
Yeah.
Because he was the voice of Jarvis, and he was just in WandaVision.
Yeah. So the longest tenured one for sure.
Him and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
If she comes into Falcon Winter
Soldier. Yeah. But yeah, he's been there the entire time. And it's just like, oh shit, that's his voice. You forget that's him. Because it hasn't been for... I mean, he's been Vision for much longer than he was Jarvis.
He becomes Jarvis in Ultron?
So what is that? Actually, no, it's about half now because that's 2014?
2014.
2015.
Is that when Guardians was like supposed to take place? Yeah,
Guardians was 2014.
2014. So like Ultron came out in the timeline of MCU. I want to say Ultron comes like either right before. No, it comes after both Guardians because Winter Soldier happens right before Guardians, and then Guardians 2, and then Ultron.
Yeah.
So half we'll say half.
Yeah, it's about half. Yeah.
So that's the first thing Lynn said. She was like, "It's Vision." I was like, no, that's Jarvis.
Watch it.
That's fucking Jarvis.
It's fucking Jarvis.
Fucking Jarvis. So,
Boom.
yeah, Pepper's in there, and she's just a loyal assistant. Kind of badass.
She's the shit.
Yanks his fucking heart right out when he needs help. Straight up yanks the magnet right out of his fucking...
Oh, yeah. He's like, watch out. Don't make sure you don't yank the and then you yank the magnet.
I remember approaching that scene being like, does she pull it out? Like, is it an accident? No, she straight up was like, wrapped it around her hand and was like, yeet.
She keeps going and just tries to kill him.
Yeeted it out. All right, so let's get to the...
kind of the main...
Yeah, and the climax, but before we get to the climax, I want to mention that, like, Agent Coulson is in this movie throughout, like, as a representative of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's hilarious.
I literally can't remember what all of the letters mean.
Because he kept saying it before they came up with the acronym. He's like,
well,
it's
S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end.
Strategic Homeland Yield.
Okay. That's what it is. It's S.H.I.E.L.D. But, like, watching that for the first time, I mean, I knew what S.H.I.E.L.D. was. Like, I had I guess, more than average knowledge of all of this stuff because Spider-Man had always been my favorite superhero.
So you were Marvel guy. You were a Marvel guy.
Yeah, I knew he was part of the Avengers at some point. And I knew about S.H.I.E.L.D., but I didn't know even what any of that meant. So when I was watching it for the first time, he just kept saying this long name, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're from something. You know, it's a bit. They're just doing that.
Yes.
And then at the end, he comes up, he's like, oh, just call us S.H.I.E.L.D.
Just call us
I was
S.H.I.E.L.D.
like, oh, fuck, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, aren't we all? Like, obviously, it goes back to, because we've seen everything, we knew now, but like, the first time around, it was like, where the fuck is he from? I don't know, but that ain't CIA, that ain't FBI, where the fuck is this guy? I don't give a shit. Seems shady.
Yeah.
And they come in clutch at the end, because if Pepper doesn't go with Coulson, like, Stane's definitely going to kill her immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Because she does that whole little... I remember being a bundle of nerves when she was downloading all the files of, like, the hit and all that stuff, and, like, the suit he was making, and he came into the room and was just being super villainous with his like monologues and his sitting on the desk, and I was nervous. I was nervous for Pepper, and so it was a great scene as far as suspense goes. Like I love suspense. Like when it comes to these movies, everyone always likes to talk about how they're superhero movies and they're blockbusters and they're blah blah blah, but there's so much more than that. Especially when you start getting into things like Winter Soldier and Civil War. It's more like a political spy thriller. Like this kind of has bits of that in this movie, and that's what I love about them. They're not just what you should take at face value as far as it being like a fucking superhero movie. They're more. And that's why Iron Man, I think, in my opinion, was so successful. There was layers to the characters. You are able to develop, an attachment to Tony Stark moving forward. If Tony Stark didn't work, if Iron Man did not work, we do not have Falcon and the Winter Soldier happening today.
We got maybe not nothing, but definitely not this 23 movie franchise.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, the climax, right? Motherfucker builds his suit, steals the fucking heart right out of Tony. The arc reactor. Right out of his fucking body. Mm-hmm. And then Pepper kept the old one, and he's able to use that. And they have a nice little fight at the end there.
Nice little fight at the end there. And so, what do you think of this much bigger Iron Man suit?
Well, I think that he built it that way because that's all they had from
the cave.
The cave. So he builds this bigger suit that mirrors that one, but what Tony has created since then is such more updated and smoother and, in the type that like can do a lot more as far as just all the shit. And Tony's smarter, so his suit's obviously going to have upgrades that one does not.
So that's what I was going to say. Well, like, what would you say, Tyler, like comparing the two suits? Like, why do you think Tony's looks the way it does as opposed to this monstrosity?
He refined it. It's nice and small. Remember when they were taken off into the sky and Tony just blasted off?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Stane.
Stay. When you see him take off, it's like a Looked like a fucking NASA rocket go.
That's right. It's like a rocket booster. Yeah, definitely not.
It's very slow. It's not
Yeah.
as mobile. Like I feel like that's something Tony took from being in the suit he had in the cave. He was like, he probably wasn't thinking about it at the time, but as he was making the new one, he was like, well, this is the problem with that one. This is this. This is that. This is that. I don't want any of that if I make a better suit. And he was able to do that.
Yeah, definitely smaller, more refined, and take it off. It's like a fucking rocket booster.
Yeah.
Like, just so I totally get
because
that.
He was
And
going fucking supersonic.
Yeah,
Tony was.
and it's all about what the uses would be, right? So this is after Tony has said, like, we're going to stop making weapons. So of course he still puts his grand, fantastic weapons in his suit, but Obadiah, he's wanting this to be exclusively a weapon.
Straight up.
So
he has all kinds of gadgets
He
on
loads it up with everything that he can, so it's going to make it heavier. So it's going to take a lot more power for it to fly. And like I was thinking about that as well. It's just built to be a war machine. And so maybe it's not meant to fly around like Tony's does. It's meant to just be dropped off into whatever war zone and then stomp whatever it would be. Like that's my thinking of what that suit would be used for.
Because he would have eventually sold suits like that.
Exactly.
Yep. And it makes me think of the Hulkbuster armor that Tony eventually develops to fight the Hulk.
Yep.
Right? And, who's to say, we'll never know, but maybe that's something Tony thought of, once the Hulk was introduced into the MCU, like, oh, I need a suit. I'll build one like fucking Stain had.
Yeah.
And so...
Kind of like Batman-esque in that.
Yeah. Because that's what...
Just
eventually
preparing.
Tony Stark is the Bruce Wayne of this universe.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, it's like, Tony comes so far, but still realizes that, in order to keep the peace that he would like to have, he's going to have, weapons in his suit.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be forces against whatever he is fighting for. And at this point in this movie, we're beginning to see what it is he's going to fight for and define the rest of his life.
Exactly. And I mean, one of the reasons that defines him, the reason why he won that fight between him and this huge Iron Man suit is because he is a pioneer. Because he was so out there and he's like, I want to see how high I can climb. And then realized in the first version or second version of his suit, I guess.
His first flight in the second version.
Exactly. He developed an ice problem when he climbed too high in altitude. So, okay, he's like, I have to take care of that. I know that's something now I have to deal with. Obadiah, that's not something he ever experimented with. He wouldn't think about that. So Tony knows.
Right.
Because he's such a pioneer, he explored all these different avenues. He knows that he can go that high. And then once they get up there, he's like, what'd you do about the ice problem?
He's like, what? It's great, too, because you get like a inkling of kind of a reoccurring theme that's going to happen with Tony throughout the rest of the movies. Whereas, in order to eliminate, the villain, Stain, he tells Pepper to go ahead and blow the roof when he's still on it, right? Essentially to sacrifice himself to stop the villain. And this is something that occurs and occurs and occurs and occurs throughout the MCU until, ultimately, spoiler alert, he does sacrifice his life for the universe. So that's a big deal. But this is like the first taste of it.
This is absolutely the first time where he's like, whatever, we got to get rid of this.
Yeah,
blow it.
Blow it. And he survives. And then you get to the end where you assume that he's going to go ahead and have a secret identity like most superheroes do.
Yeah, like they were talking about earlier when you're like, an unfortunate training exercise.
Oh my god, that shit was so funny.
Caused an F-22 pilot. So we expect the same thing, right? This is going to be under wraps, like every other movie we've ever seen.
You even write him a little backstory on some note cards. Like
exactly.
You were in Catalina.
Yeah, Coulson.
35 witnesses.
Agent Coulson has taken care of this whole piece and told him, hey, like, you're good. We got Obadiah taken care of as well. We're taking care of all of this. And he gets up there and is kind of rambling along and eventually just admits, I am Iron Man.
I feel like that's a very Tony Stark thing to do.
Right?
Tony Stark personified in that moment. Very good, Tyler, because that's exactly what's happening.
He's like,
here.
well, some wild, insinuations that I am a superhero.
And she's like, no one said you were a superhero. He's like, all right, you know what, bitch? I'm Iron Man.
He was like, well, no, because that would be ridiculous and fantastic.
He does say that. And I love that. That's so Tony. And he never loses that throughout the rest of the fucking series. Like, I mean, he has character development, but he never loses that zeal, like, of being just wanting to be the best, the smartest, and he gets pushed by the other Avengers as the series goes on. I love that. I'm going to ask. That's going to be a hot route later.
Yeah.
But before we leave off on the movie and go into hot route, which we need to do here soon, I want to say that. Do you guys remember when he decided to go to that village and like save it?
Yeah.
And he just like took off from his Malibu home, and then all of a sudden he was just like in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I asked Gator to run the numbers on that.
I was like,
what the fuck, dude? Like, how is that one flight? Did he stop in Mildenhall?
What do we got numbers
on the
guy?
way?
Didn't figure out
He didn't.
all the numbers.
I told him to go to Reddit and go on the they did the math subreddit. He was like, that's a good idea, but apparently not good enough because he didn't do it.
Okay, look, but it's hard to quantify. I guess it's not. You could do the math, okay? Because first you gotta quantify. Okay, what is 1% of
the thrust that he was doing?
His thrust.
It lifts him.
Okay, and that is 1% of just that piece.
Like 10% killed him. Remember?
But we don't know if that is 1%. Like how long does it take to actually use 1% of his quote unquote battery? Because that's 1% of thruster capability, not of the specific power source.
Right.
So it's hard to quantify what actually that is.
I just want to know, like, I don't even care about all that. Like, I just want to know, like, was he taking bathroom breaks? Like, did he have snacks in the suit? Like, did he do some layovers? Like, you know what I mean?
How often does he change out the little reactor?
It lasts for a while. It's like, so when we get to Avengers, he, like, puts something in the some power source, and he's like, that'll last 100 years. Like, arc reactor technology in this universe is, like, just sustainable. Like, that one that
it is the clean energy.
Yes, and when Stain took it, like, that was supposed to power him probably. Because remember, the one he made in the cave, he was like, this can power this for so many lifetimes or whatever. He's like, or something very big for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever he said. So, like, the new one he made obviously was a refined thing. Like, he didn't want to run into running out of battery again. So that one was probably going to be good for a long time. And as we see as the movies go, he keeps updating it and doing this to it and doing that until finally we get to nanotech, which down the road.
But for us, if we're flying from here to Afghanistan, like 12 hours, 14 hours.
He'd probably replace it once he got home.
Yeah, go ahead and get a new one. Yeah, you got a new one.
It's just a nice round trip, and then get a new one.
I mean, he's got to be damaged after he took out that F-22. Like,
yeah.
That all happened in
yeah. So, and then what? You want to wrap up with this after credits?
Oh, we should talk about the post-credit scene. So, like, we get our first glimpse of the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., played by Samuel L. Jackson.
Played by Sam Jackson.
And he is Nick Fury. And he's like, oh, you're a superhero, huh? You have no idea what the fuck you just walked into, my boy.
He's like, oh, shit, baby.
And, like, for that to be the first movie in the fucking series and that post-credit scene to happen, it's like, for everyone that had a background in Marvel that kind of knew what Tony was a part of, like, not me, I wasn't, maybe not you, maybe not Ed either, but, like, just a hint of things to come. Like, we are getting more heroes, and this is going to be something.
Once I saw that, like, once I saw Nick Fury, like, he's like, yeah, I'm Nick Fury. I was like, oh, shit. Because, I'm watching the entire movie thinking, like, okay, yeah, this is just a fun superhero movie. Like, it has a solid story, even if they don't have a sequel or anything. It's self-contained. It's fantastic. It's a good story. Mm-hmm. It's a fun movie. It's a good story. And then I see Nick Fury, and I'm like, oh, fuck. This is big. Like, this is Avengers. There's at least countless superheroes in the Avengers.
They're going to come in.
So, like, that fucked me up.
Yeah. And like I said, and it all goes back to something I've been saying this entire episode, is just that we have the, convenience of being able to see what it became, but just to kind of freeze frame it, see that, and be like, fuck, man, they really just fucking teased that, and it happened. And it fucking happened. Because I think the next movie we're going to do on this podcast is probably, I think First Avenger came out next, or was it Thor?
I mean, Iron Man 2?
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, as far as, we're doing release dates. Like, as far as the order goes. And I think Iron Man, and then it was either the First Avenger or Thor, and then Iron Man 2.
No. It was Iron Man 2.
We're gonna check. We're gonna check. I'm not gonna check right now. Everyone will find out when the next episode comes out. We'll see who was right. Beers are gonna be on the person that was not.
Perfect.
Okay, so that will take us right into Hot Route.
Everybody's favorite segment.
Blue 17! Blue 17!
What is Hot Route?
Hot route! Red 7, red 7, red 7! Hot route! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
Okay, so I will be hot routing these guys today. I have a few. So the first one is kind of weird, but we talked about it at the top of the show. So at the top of the show, you said they got this actor who now, it's been 20 or 15, 12 years, 13 years, whatever, is Tony Stark. RDJ is Tony Stark. But, like, take yourselves back to 2008. You don't know how great it's going to be. What other actors could you see playing Tony Stark?
Let's see, in the late 2000s time frame, I'm trying to think of like the actors who were, hot at that point.
Right.
So honestly, I think Clooney could have been a solid Tony Stark. He has the wit, he has the vibe, he has the whole look.
Are you like catering to me right now? Because I have like a man crush on Clooney.
I actually did not know that.
Oh, dude.
To be real, I did not know that, but like I think Clooney could embody that. I mean, we've seen Iron Man in how many movies, but I think Clooney could give it a fair shot.
Okay.
I think he could do pretty well.
I like that. I think maybe he would have gotten a little too old by the time we got to Endgame.
Exactly, yeah.
But I could see that because he is a good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking guy. He's funny.
He can play that. Yeah, he has quips.
Yeah.
And he can play that egotistical fucking, fucking
I'm
guy.
better than you guy.
Yep. Okay, I can see that. What about you over there, Tyler?
Brad Pitt, maybe?
And that's the thing, like, I've seen... I was kind of thinking about Brad Pitt. Like, it wouldn't be bad. Because Brad Pitt's funnier than Clooney. To me, Brad Pitt's fucking hilarious.
Yes, I agree.
He's funny as
funnier.
fuck.
And
kind of in a more direct sense than what Tony Stark is. Now that I'm thinking about it,
wouldn't be
more.
under the table like the under the table quips that Tony always has.
Yeah.
That Clooney could nail, but Brad Pitt can be more direct with it. So I think
which Tony Stark is as well.
Yeah,
Like,
he is. I could see that. I mean, just fucking A. Think about the power of those two actors too. If you were able to get either one of those for this movie, it was gonna be a success.
Exactly.
Right. Like Marvel took a chance here with RDJ, but it fucking paid off because he's one of the most beloved people in this entire series. So good answers, guys. I like that.
Nice. That's a good one.
Hot route number 2. In hindsight, because we had the benefit of that, what is the biggest change you've seen in this character from the first movie up to Endgame?
In Iron Man or in Tony Stark?
Iron Man, Tony Stark.
The biggest change?
Yeah. Because now we've seen what he was, right? We've seen Iron Man, and then you've seen Endgame, and you can kind of just see, like...
He turned into a big softie. Was Spoderman?
He did love fucking Peter Parker.
He loved him.
That's a whole thing, though. It kind of makes him think about how much he wanted and needed a family and that he never pursued that route, and now he had this kind of quote-unquote son that he was kind of building, in my eyes, to take over. And then he loses him, and he's like, I lost everything that I didn't know that I wanted.
So you guys are both agreeing right now that it was his desire to have a family.
I think the biggest change that I saw... So I love that.
That's good, Gator.
That is really good. Mine that I saw was him trying to... him turning into a control freak. He wanted to be able to save everybody. And you can't.
Right. You can't see that with Ultron.
Exactly. That made him frantic in Ultron. He was like, but what if we could save everybody forever? And you can't.
Suit of armor around the world.
So I think that was the biggest...
I can't wait to get to Ultron because people hate on it. I have things to say.
So I think that was the most dynamic change that I saw and did appreciate.
Right.
That, he went from this, playboy, whatever, philanthropist to, like, we're not making weapons, to then a huge shift to, like, oh shit, I want to control everything. I want to make everybody safe, but it made him kind of frantic in that same sense.
Right. Okay, I like that. Good job, guys. That's good answers. And the last hot route.
There's 3?
There's 3 hot
Three
routes.
hot routes, Tyler.
Oh,
what are you,
man.
new?
Maybe. Just a little.
Now, as far as Phase 1 solo movies go, right? In Phase 1 solo movies, we have Iron Man, we have First Avenger, and we have Thor. I think I already know what the answer is going to be, but I want you to elaborate on it. Which one is the best, and why?
It's definitely not Which one? Okay, so we have Iron Man, Thor, and what?
First Avenger, Captain America.
Captain America. It's definitely not Captain America.
Okay, why?
It's just not, because it's like, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's just like, this is Captain America.
I loved it, by the way.
I think I've seen it like once.
It's
Okay, so it's not Captain America.
It's not Captain America.
It's obviously Iron Man.
It just is.
But why? Tell me why. Tell me
it's the
why.
progenitor of all of these different
You
movies.
can't say that's a cop-out answer. I don't
And-
want to hear that it was the one that started everything. Because that's why we're doing this episode first.
And Thor is a very close second. Like, Thor's story is, I am a slut for mythology. Okay? I fucking love any kind of mythology.
Especially Norse mythology.
Yes, it's just fantastic. That is just my shit. So I'm super into all of these things, and of course Marvel takes their own route of how they want to describe all these things, but it's very film friendly.
Yeah.
Like, it works on screen.
Well, that's the greatness of Marvel.
Exactly. So that is a very close one, and then bringing in Hemsworth, he plays a fantastic job with Thor. But Iron Man, you can't beat the character that is Tony Stark. So he builds on the... All right, yeah, we'll just talk about this movie. Of course, he builds on the entire franchise, but he builds on the entire movie. They have a lot of great actors and actresses in Iron Man, but his charisma, his enthusiasm carries the entire thing.
And he is the most important Avenger. He is. That's hands down. And, like, I'm a Cap guy. Like, I'm Team Cap all the way. But Tony Stark Iron Man is the most important Avenger. He is. And, like, that's why it's so crazy to, like, see where this is going to go now. And we'll save that. We have, don't worry, only like 21 movies left to go.
That's cool.
So by 2022, we might be wrapped this up.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep.
But good answers on the hot routes, guys. I'm about it. Did you answer that?
I don't really have a good answer because I've seen like Captain America.
Don't worry, he's
once.
going on a trip for work, and
Then-
he's just going to watch them all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then I never saw the first Thor. I've only seen Ragnarok. Then I don't know.
It's okay, though, because he watched Iron Man, and that's what we're talking about
All right,
today.
perfect.
So you're good.
Boom,
All right.
Iron Man.
So,
We'll hold on to that.
with that having been said, this has been another episode. We had a great time with this. I am sore. I am tired. I need a beer. I need a bath. No, I need a jacuzzi.
Jacuzzi.
I don't have any of that, so I'm only getting one of those. I'm getting a beer. Maybe. We'll see.
You ever have a bath beer?
I've had a shower beer.
Bath beer.
I've had bath wine.
I thought you were going to say bath water. I was like, oh my god, what?
Not very good. It doesn't taste very good.
Don't do that.
Bath water is
Soapy.
gross.
Ew.
Anyways, as always, this has been another episode of Almost Agreeable. Chris?
I'm Ed.
Yep.
We got it.
Well, what do you know? Another episode down. You can catch all new episodes every week on Thursdays. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Almost Agreeable.